Some new news, some interesting yet boring news on the new Qatari Bank Note. Absolutely legit. There is a new 50 Rial Qatari Bank Note. It's similar to the old note, but it has new signatures, the Al Thani signature and the Al Kuwari signature. Interesting. And it also has obviously the new date, the 2026 date. It's got a revised windowed security thread. It's got revised coat of arms and a denomination. The denomination itself, the 50 Rial, is at the lower left front expressed as Western, not Arabic. Now, these notes are made by De La Rue in the UK, as lots of these high security notes are made by De La Rue in the UK. It's one of the best in the world. I would say borderline the best in the world. The whole thing was invented in Australia by these criminals that the UK sent to this god-forsaken continent, apparently. And Australia designed these polymer notes, these new polymer notes, and De La Rue picked up the ball, and they have a manufacturing plant in Australia. Anyway, so this is Western, and it's designed. It's Western rather than Arabic numerals, designed by De La Rue in that way. Probably, I'm absolutely sure that the Qatari government approved this. So they have Western number on there. Very interesting. And what's not mentioned in the bank's press release is that the holographic patch on the front has been changed to a different OVI device. So OVI, I think, stands for optical visual identification, but it's basically flip color paint. You can see it on the European notes. I think the European notes, certainly the high denominations, have three colors. So this, and it's precision flip color. It's not like your metallic car paint with metallic particles in it. I mean, it does have metallic pigment, magnetic pigment, but it's printed in such a way that an electromagnet scans it and aligns these magnetic particles specifically and precisely so that machines can read it at various different angles. And if the magnetic particle, this prism, is not perfectly aligned, then the machine can detect it, obviously. Quite precise and very, very secure. In fact, this OVI paint it's very secretive and protected, better than gold at the LBMA. I mean, the London Metals Exchange and the COMEX in Chicago, they have systems for security that's just physical and mechanical and cyber security systems that are world leading. Well, this paint, I tell you, impossible to get, and lots of security systems behind it. Anyway, at UK, I tell you, some brilliant stuff there. Mostly rubbish now, but we can be proud of some things. So yeah, and there's also a new purple pearlescent stripe that's been added on the left back. Now, incidentally, De La Rue is the leading producer of polymer notes as well. Now, Qatar doesn't have polymer notes. When I came here, I was in disbelief. I thought, what the hell is going on, you know? Polymer notes are the most secure banknote that you can get and the most durable. So that's just two things. So I was thinking to myself, why doesn't Qatar do this? Libya did this a long time ago. I remember when they started doing this in 2019. And because I heard that they were designed and printed in the UK, obviously. And I've been looking at this basically since 2019. Can you believe how boring I am? But anyway, there's several reasons why Qatar might not want to do it. One reason is that ATMs, paper ATMs, can't take polymer notes. So if you've got a load of ATMs and any infrastructure that requires instrumental measurement, any instruments that measure money, they have to be replaced. So I don't know whether Qatar could do. I mean, I'm sure they could, but a bit of a pain in the rear end for them to do that. Libya, incidentally, could do it quite easily because, unfortunately, there was no money in ATMs for years. I mean, even now, it's still very difficult. And it's not a problem for them to replace a few ATMs, the few that they have outside the major cities. You're very lucky to get an ATM. The availability there is horrible. But polymer notes are setting a country up for future use of physical currency, as far as I can see. When you invest in polymer notes, they cost more than paper cotton notes as well. So, and that investment pays off long term because they last longer. So if you're going to spend that kind of coin making this kind of money, then you need some justification. The other thing is that although a cash society likes to handle money, people know what it feels like, and polymer notes feel different. Basically, they'll go through a washing machine at 90 degrees C, but when you put them on a car dashboard and it's 60, like it is in Qatar, you get some problems. You get these notes shrinking into insignificance, and they basically end up like a shriveled mess, which is just unusable. So I don't know if you've stuck a crisp packet in an oven when you were a kid and shrunk it down. Well, it's similar to that, which is interesting because if they go through a washing machine, why don't they do that in a washing machine? So the replacement of the infrastructure is a key thing, and I don't think that's anything to do with Qatar. Keeping the people happy is another thing. Now, the UK, when they changed, they didn't really care. In fact, I remember when I had some money from the bank and she said, be careful, they're the new polymer notes, they stick together, so when you're counting them you might think you've got less there, but you don't in fact have less. And they stick together when they're wet. It's horrible, and they don't feel the same, they don't fold the same. So if you've got a cash society that appreciates having cash in their hand, physical cash in their hand, that uses that, the UK isn't like that now, but was like that then if the government really thinks about the people like it does, I mean, Middle Eastern governments and North African governments do actually think about the people. They care what the people think, not like in the West, generally speaking. And these people are tough people. They'll come back and they'll tell the government, look at what happened in the Arab Spring, So if you want to keep your people happy and you've got a society that uses cash, then switching to a polymer note is not a good political decision. And polymer notes cost more. So might be the reason, and the heat might be the reason. It might be that Qatar doesn't see that its society is going to be using physical notes much longer, which is a shame. I think physical notes should have a place everywhere, and government should support physical currency. The polymer note is kind of the opposite of what normally happens with physical currency. Normally governments are trying to make it cheaper to produce rather than more expensive. They're trying to devalue the currency. It used to be the case that a silver coin was worth its weight in silver, and then governments started to remove that silver and replace it with nickel, copper, things like this. And that happened in living memory in the UK. The coins were replaced, devalued, physically devalued in your own hand, so you could see the value coming down. Then paper, of course, is even lower value than metal. But the polymer note goes the opposite direction. It increases the production value, so it's more costly to produce. I think probably the main reason that governments go for these polymer notes, there's a lot in Africa. The UK supplies a lot of the African notes. One of the main reasons is counterfeiting. These notes are almost impossible to counterfeit the polymer. And paper notes with the OVI devices, they're very good as well, but not as good as polymer. And because they last longer as well, you get better value out of them. You might have to spend a little bit more, but you get better value. But very interesting that Qatar are using De La Rue. I didn't realise. And I didn't realise that De La Rue are still making paper notes. I mean, it can't be worth their time now, I'm sure. But you can tell if countries if successful countries and countries that are going to become successful, like the African countries that use these notes. It's not just in North Africa, we're talking in West Africa, all over Africa. All of these countries are looking at the best, the most secure solution. And the UK has that. These notes, incidentally, were designed in thought of or discovered or created in Australia. And of course, the UK has very good communication with Australia and a very good relations. So the UK is another site. Libya used De La Rue primarily because they're in Malta and to combat all of the counterfeiting that they have. So I think this reversal in it might be the end of paper currency, physical currency. Towards the end of the physical currency, everything goes to hell anyway. You know, the whole strategies turn themselves on their head and everything. And that's happened here because it's not cheaper to produce polymer notes. And it always has been. Even from Roman times, it always has been the case that governments that are producing physical currency will want to decrease the cost of that production. And also it goes to say that they can afford this, which means that the paper currency is not worth the value that it's printed on, that's printed on it. The value is not the same as the printed value on the note. It used to be that you could weigh a silver coin and it was its weight in silver. So, but with banknotes and fiat currency, it's just an empty promise that will be worth. It will have that value. You'll be able to buy the same number of loaves of bread with that note in the next year, and that's a completely wrong, of course, with physical currency now with fiat currency, because it's not gold and not silver. But yeah, very interesting. De La Rue, good company from the UK, used by many successful countries. We do have some great things still left in the UK.